Hey everyone, this is Nick from Mecca Warehouse, and today we're back with weekly update number 134. Let's kick it off with Week in Review. This is where I talk about what's been going on in the warehouse, things that are coming up, stuff like that. And let's start off by talking about just one of the challenges we've had recently. And I think this has always been kind of a challenge. It's just more noticeable sometimes than others. And but recently there's been a bit of a workload fluctuation in the warehouse. We've got days where everything's super busy. Maybe it's coming out of the weekend, somebody's out, like this week on Monday, Chad called in sick. He's fine, he's back in. But we had things like that happen where we end up short-staffed for some reason and like overloaded for a day or two because we're trying to catch up with the big weekend or a big sale or something like that. And then the next week we will have a situation where we are late on stuff because the next restock shipment hasn't arrived yet. And so we don't have a ton of check-in work to do and everybody's in as normal and things like that. So it's been an interesting ride lately. Hopefully things will kind of level out a little bit. We're always going to deal with some of those fluctuations because we're trying to be able to ideally always ship things fast, which means we need a little bit of extra capacity at all times to be able to deal with those fluctuations. But it's been an interesting problem lately, and I don't really know how to solve it per se, other than to have a whole bunch of people that are, say, part-timers or on-call kind of help. It's hard to find people to do that when you have people that are purely on call. They're not as familiar with things. So it's just an interesting challenge as we deal with trying to scale and work through the problem of some weeks are busy because we have a ton of stuff come in. Some weeks we don't have as much stuff come in. And so it's been one of the challenges I've been dealing with lately. We do have a whole lot of stuff coming in the next few weeks, though. So first off, let's talk about the early birds. I'll mention what exactly they are later on, but we do have some new releases coming in soon, or some other hot items. We had put up MGEX for early bird yesterday. From when I'm filming this, that was Wednesday. They sold out within a few hours, I think. We also got some MG Zeta Verka coming finally. Those should be here next week as well. We've got a few other Witch from Mercury kits as well up there for early birds. So keep an eye out for that stuff. We also have, interestingly, a giant pile of Kotobukiya stuff due to come towards us. So one of our distributors we've been getting Kotobukiya from historically, they've been behind on shipping a lot of stuff. As far back as I think December 2022 is the oldest release or expected date that we were expecting to see something that still hasn't shipped yet. So that's a good almost 6 months or so behind. And apparently all that stuff is coming in for them, or at least they're ready to ship all that stuff over the next few weeks, which means we're going to be receiving basically everything that's been owed to us for Kotobukiya back orders for the last 6 months, all within maybe a several week period. So there will be a collection down in the description. If you have any pre-orders, that's great. If you're interested in any of that stuff, you can help us out a ton by placing a pre-order for any of those items, because they will be arriving soon, and that will help us take them in and send them right back out. Where we have so many SKUs coming in, we're going to be dealing with the challenge of organizing, storing, checking in, all that stuff. And of course, just the huge cash outlay all at once for 6 months worth of inventory showing up in like a month. So that'll be an interesting problem to deal with over the next few weeks. But kind of a good one, because a lot of those things we've been waiting on forever, and some of them have been out in the wild. So I'm not sure why this distributor's been behind on shipping them to us, but we're happy that they're catching up, which is a good thing. It feels like a lot of distribution has been catching up over the last 6 months to a year, and I think we're getting close to the point where everything's like totally caught up. So painful to get there. Once everything's caught up, it's going to be good for everybody, I think, because things should start showing up more consistently on time. We also launched the next mystery box on Monday. The theme for this one is flight. As with previous mystery boxes, there's a limited number. We expect them to sell out before the date. They should ship out on June 15th or thereabouts, give or take. So if you're interested in that, I would jump on that ASAP to make sure you get one, because once they're sold out, they're sold out. out. We have a limited amount of stock for those mystery boxes. Couple other things. So Redacted, the Redacted boxes, the stock for that is due to arrive today when I'm filming this on Thursday, which means they should start shipping out either today or on Friday if everything goes well. Fingers crossed that we have no issues with that shipment arriving. With all that going out, expect us to be putting out a request for any comments or questions in the next week or so, and we're planning on putting together a video about that. I think I mentioned that last week, so I won't go into too much more detail. And the one other thing to talk about for the week in review section. So last week I talked about switching over to FedEx for certain package sizes to certain destinations, and I heard your comments. There were a ton of comments of people saying, hey, I would rather pay more for UPS, I hate FedEx, whatever it was. I'm sure there's probably an equal number of people out there that would say the same thing about UPS, or at least a similar kind of number, but of course they're going to be quiet because we're talking about switching to FedEx. We haven't started shipping anything FedEx yet, especially because of those comments. We'll be hopefully meeting later today, to talk about exactly how we want to handle the transition. My plan last week was to switch over and start, and then figure out how to offer UPS, like select your carrier as an option afterwards, after we kind of saw how things were going and what effect it had. Based on those comments that we saw, our plan now is to figure out how to offer that first. We could have that plan as soon as today, which means Friday or early next week we might start shipping that way. Most likely we're going to stick with a flat rate shipping rate that covers whichever carrier we decide to ship, and then provide a UPS Select or a FedEx Select option that lets you pick your carrier. It will cost more and probably be dependent on package size. So larger packages, larger orders will cost more to ship, and allow us to make sure that we're never underwater, or at least not as underwater on a shipment going by a specific carrier that maybe is not the most efficient one cost-wise. So exactly what those amounts are and how we're going to roll that out will be decided very soon. But keep an eye out for that. And if you've been worried about it, you can place an order and not have to worry about it, because if you don't see a select option on there, that means we haven't switched over yet. So I think that is it for week in review. Let's move on to pre-orders. We had a bunch of new pre-orders and some early birds this week. We'll talk about all of those at the same time here. So for pre-orders, let's cover those first. We have only a few, but some interesting ones. One is the Megami Device AUV Suzunowo Regalia, the Death Stranding Reverse Strike, and from MS General, the Journey to the West Zuzu and Jingjing. I think those are the three new pre-orders this week. We did offer a handful of early birds. They went up on Wednesday. The MGEX was one. Those are already sold out. As of when I'm filming this, we do have some Zeta Verka pre-orders, or early birds rather, still available. Those will probably sell out soon. They might not last until you see this, but so if you want one, I would look ASAP, and then of course we'll get them in stock next week when that shipment ships. We also put some HG Ilfrith up for early bird. We've got another shipment of those coming, and those have been going relatively quickly whenever we've restocked them. We've also put up the Zowart Heavy and Delonza Sol, which are two of the newer Witch for Mercury kits. And I think that's it for early birds. But as always, early birds are expected to come in within a few weeks. Some of those will be shipping potentially like Friday, I think, from a relatively local distributor that should arrive early next week. The others will probably ship early next week. It might take a week or two to get here and get processed, but all that stuff should be arriving very, very soon. Okay, so that's it for pre-orders. Let's move on to team picks. This is where members of the team talk about, builds that they brought in and stuff like that. So let's check that out.
Hi everybody. My pick this week is the Master Grade Hyaku Shiki from the Gundam Zeta series. Built it a long time ago, closer to when it came out, but have always had it out on the shelf because it's always had that awesome gold paint job to it. Nub marks do stink, some great undergating in certain areas from what I remember. It has great color separation as well, especially with the red pipes and the red detail that pops out of it. But definitely a great high master grade if you're looking for something with a lot of flash to it because of that gold paint job. And overall, it's just a cool style for the mobile suit for the Hyakushiki anyways, so that's my pick.
Today for show and tell, I brought in the high-grade Kshatriya from Gundam Unicorn. It is the big, mean green bell pepper. It has like a very iconic like silhouette to it with its wing binders. I got it for my birthday a couple years ago. Finally took the time to finish it. And I have a lot of like positive experiences with it, but there's two things that stood out to me as annoyances. The first one was that it has stickers for the sleeves, and those are not good. They do not hold the shape of the sleeves very well. Same thing on the chest, they got stickers for there. So I recommend throwing those away right when you get it and getting a white Gundam marker or a white Display marker. You're going to take that marker, just paint up the edges of the sleeves and the chest piece. It'll look a lot better. This is my first time trying it, so I could make it look a little bit better, but I'm pretty happy with what I have so far. Then the second annoyance was that it only takes Action Base 1. And this is a personal annoyance for me because I'm an Action Base 4 guy like all the way. And thankfully I did have an Action Base 1 in my backlog. So I took it out, set it up, and I think it looks really good in the air. I would highly recommend anyone try to build the Kshatriya. Fantastic kit.
That was it for team picks. Let's move on to Q&A. So this is where I answer questions from you, the viewers. If you have a question you want answered, post it down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer it next time. And let's just jump right in. So first up, Freddie D. Question. Notice that other online stores are offering pre-orders for old school PG models. Old school Zaku, red and green, any chance of Mecha Warehouse getting these? That's a good question. So we've been told by one, I think maybe two of our distributors that they were expecting a lot of PGs from this huge lot of PGs that Bandai apparently found or reallocated from some other region or something that didn't go through the normal order placement and confirmation process. We've put in back orders for as many of these as we can get. We're hoping we can get some. So far, though, we've been able to get a few random PGs here and there. Like we had a single Mark II AU that showed up. I think we had an extra PG Unleashed, and there might have been something else too. So not large quantities and not a huge variety as of yet. Those we didn't even put up on the website. We ended up offering them to the Discord through the lottery process that we use for Ding and Dents because it was only, a one-off kind of thing. We're hoping we get more. We're hoping we get more quantity, but no idea for sure. And I'll use this as a chance to plug the Discord. If you're a Discord member, sometimes when we get very limited quantities of really popular kits, we'll make them a Discord exclusive and lottery them off that way. So if you're on the Discord, or if not, you can join. If you've made a purchase before, you should have received an invite link to join the Discord and have notifications on for that channel because you might miss some deals otherwise. Fun question. How's your grass field lawn doing? Should have taken some pictures, I guess. It's doing better, I guess. No more snow. I've mowed, I think, twice now this season. It's going to be what it is, though. Lots of weeds, I think, this year because I don't really want to put the time or energy into putting down stuff for that. All right, plastic germs. What show or video game do you wish Bandai had rights or a license to make model kits? So there's a couple. One would be Obsolete. It's an interesting little anime series. They might have had rights at some point. I think Good Smile has made some Obsolete kits. There's some interesting kind of mecha variety there. It's an interesting show if you ever get a chance to watch it. I think it's on YouTube. So that would be great. Voltron and Power Rangers. I think they already have rights to Voltron stuff because I'm pretty sure there's some figures made by Bandai. Not sure why there isn't a kit. And, I think Flame Toys is working on some Power Rangers kits. Bandai quality would be a plus for that kind of stuff. But so, yeah, those are a few. And then fun question, Lord of the Rings or Star Wars? And I'd have to go Star Wars, especially in movie form. It would definitely be Star Wars. I feel like the Lord of the Rings movies put me to sleep. They're long, the stories are long, and they're great books, but the story just doesn't lend itself to film, in my opinion. It's just too much wandering around the countryside, and that's really hard to condense into a movie and not have it put you to sleep, in my opinion. All right. one more question. This one is from Dolfo. Is Goku a good or bad dad? And this one's a little bit tough for me. I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z or any of that stuff in a while. I think it was probably middle school or something when I was into that stuff. And I think I've only seen up to maybe Cell, maybe a little bit beyond that. So I don't know what happens past there well enough to have that influence my decision. So keep that in mind. I would say he's probably a pretty good dad. I mean, every father is probably flawed to some extent. I think he puts his kids' needs above his own, other than, you know, saving the universe or whatever. And yeah, I think that makes him a fairly good dad. Of course, I could be completely forgetting something horrible he did or neglectful or whatever. But that's it for questions. So if you have a question you want answered, you can post it down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer next time. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.